Hi, everyone. I want to thank you so much for having me here today. I'm going to talk to you about whether robot vacuums can actually save us from the housework drudgery. Let me tell you a story about Maya. Maya is a consultant who helps organizations and their employees do bold, great, amazing things. She's a partnered mother of 2 young children, and her husband also works full-time. And Maya and her family, the daily juggle is busy. Each child needs to be somewhere different, dishes need to be done, bills need to be paid, and floors need to be swept. And no one seems to have enough time. For Maya, the constant demands of work and family can be overwhelming, and in particular, the ways in which this pulls on her mental load. Now, we know that Maya is typical of many mothers today who are working at higher rates than ever before in the past. Most families have 2 earners, and that means that the mothers are also working full time. At the same time, children need to be tended, houses need to be cleaned, and all of this is against the backdrop of a changing world. The rise of AI, a warming planet, novel viruses, and aging populations. So we are all facing serious challenges, and we know that women's equal inclusion is key to developing effective solutions. So is it any surprise that against this incredible backdrop, our houses are getting messier? We have many families today where both parents are working, and women over time are doing less housework, and men are doing more. But childcare investments still remain high. And in a paper I wrote with Brendan Churchill and Sabina Corrich, we showed that with each generation, yes, men are stepping into more care and they're stepping into more time in housework, but women still do more. And so the gender gaps haven't closed. And this leaves many women like Maya trying to balance out family and work demands while feeling like there's never enough time to do it all. On top of it all, we still operate in outdated social norms. Specifically, we still expect women will be judged more harshly for the cleanliness of their rooms. Let me show you a picture of a messy house. Now, how many of you, when you look at this picture, instantly have a panicked moment? How many of you are thinking, oh my God, this is actually what my house looks like right now, and I need to get home and start cleaning it? Now, if you're like me, you just shut the door, left, and came today to this conference and are like, that's tomorrow's problem. But the question is, if someone showed up in this house unexpectedly, would you feel uncomfortable? Would you invite in your coworkers? Would you invite in your colleagues? Would you invite in your friends, your in-laws, your parents? And if you did, how would you feel? Would you pull back from work? Would you do things different in your daily life if your house looked like this? Now, this is exactly the types of questions that we asked in a research study with a project with Sarah Tabo and Sabina Cornridge. We were interested in whether men and women would see that room as equally messy. If they looked at that picture, would they see the mess the same way? And the answer was they did. We found that both men and women saw the room as equally dirty. So no, men aren't dirt blind. But what we did here is even if that room was cleaned up and that room was owned by a woman, she would be judged more harshly for that mess. She would be viewed as less competent, less capable, and less likable, especially by those who dropped by unexpectedly. So is it any wonder that women stress clean when people drop in unexpectedly? They are not worrying just about the mess. They're worried because they expect they'll be viewed as less human. So let's take a step back and look at the scope of this project. Let's just go back a little bit. We have spent decades convincing men to do more at home, and they are. And we have spent decades telling women to do more at work, and they do. But women still hold on to the bulk of the childcare and the housework, and we still only have 24 hours in a day. So it is no wonder that many people feel like they don't have enough time, and many feel like they're teetering on burnout. And to make matters worse, we expect women will be judged more harshly based on the cleanliness of their rooms. So where do we go from here? How do we build solutions that add time and energy into our lives rather than deplete it? Because the challenges that we are going to face into the future are going to continue to be dire. And is technology key to these solutions? Now, here's the thing. We're already using technology in our lives, in our homes, to help lighten the load. You may do something like online shop for groceries, or you may have a smart appliance that tells you when your laundry detergent is low, or you may have a robot vacuum. And so how do we understand what these technologies are and what they mean for housework? How do we make sure that these solutions are scalable, impactful, accessible and affordable and easily available? How do we make sure that research, development, and innovation for the challenges at home are well funded? And how do we make sure that women are a critical part of building these technological solutions? Let me talk about the types of technological solutions that are currently on the market, and they often fit in three broad categories. The first is products. I named a few before, and you may already be buying things for home aimed at reducing your housework burden. You may use a robot vacuum, or you may use a refrigerator that tells you what's inside. You may also have an Alexa or a Google where you actually tell that service to buy certain products to help you at home, to help you to not have to end up at the store. And so you are already using some of these technological innovations in your house, in your day-to-day lives. So the question is, what does this mean for the gendered allocation of labor? Now, there's a long history of bringing in labor-saving devices into the home, thinking about the washing machine, clothes dryers, multi-burner stoves. Now, the problem is, as historian Ruth Cohen points out in her book, More Work for Mother, that often these technologies can create more work for women and not less. Now, she talks about once you have a washing machine, all of a sudden you can clean your clothes after one wear. And so that creates more laundry and more work for mother. And if you have that multi-burner stove, all of a sudden you are creating multiple meals. You don't just have a one-pot meal, but you have bread and rice and mashed potatoes and fill in the blank. You can have multiple dishes in the day-to-day life. And so all of that leads to more housework. So the question is, what does this mean for technological innovations? What happens as we're adopting more technology into the home? Are we just creating more work for ourselves? Well, some of these tech solutions obviously do reduce the work time. Now, it would be amiss for me to say that online shopping doesn't reduce the amount of time you may spend out in the store picking out stuff and having that stuff home delivered. But the question is, as we adopt these technologies, who does the what labor and what does that look like in the house? Now, fortunately for us, Jenny Kennedy and Yolandi Strangers at Monash University researched this. And what they found was that men tend to be in charge of the technology at home. And what that means is that they're bringing in the new technology, but they're also setting it up, making sure it works and implementing it. And what that means is as we adopt more technology in the home, they have less time for the other stuff. Now, if you live in a house like I live at, that means a lot of clothes on the floor, a lot of dishes everywhere. And what happens is as men step into more of that work, managing the tech, they have less time for that other work that's non-tech driven. And so what happens is women hold that work. Now, what this means is as we start to adopt more technology, we're going to need to think about how each different adoption, what are the implications for gender inequality at home, and what does it mean for men and women's allocation? In addition to these products, technology can also emerge in terms of services that support the happenings at home. The idea of purchasing a service for the home, help with housework or childcare, has a long history. And we know that this history is raced, classed, and intrinsically tied to human labor and its migration. So how is technology stepping into this game? You're currently using, many of us, AI-enabled services to get where we need to go through something like a ride share. So if you use an Uber, you have a service that connects you, the human, through the service to another human, the driver. Now, we can think about this often when we have our meals delivered or our groceries delivered. And this is an area that has deep investment in technological development. It's an area that's utilizing robotics, AI, and automation. I want you to think about driverless cars and delivery drones. But our research is showing that it really matters who's receiving that labor in terms of how people feel about using tech in the home. People are much more comfortable with having their groceries delivered to them by a drone than having, say, a robot care for an aging parent, spouse, or friend. And so as this innovation is emerging, we need to work in tandem with trust in the services. Others are trying to use technology to support family life. Take, for example, Johanna. Johanna is a service that connects parents with a digital personal assistant. It's founded by Yoki Matsuoka. And the idea is basically that the digital assistant is a real human and their service will connect you to them. That person is there to help you with all the stuff that happens at home. Organizing play dates, finding a doctor, figuring out what school your kid might need, identifying childcare options. It doesn't matter what it is, but if you have something you want to outsource to a family personal assistant, this is the resource for you. I want to give you another example. Hearth, this is a digital display, and they are providing a digital whiteboard and service subscription to help families manage their mental loads. Again, this is a tech company that is founded by Mei Li Ng, Nathalie Stratton, and Susie Harrison. And the idea is pretty simple. It's putting up a digital whiteboard so everyone knows where they need to be at home and at work and in life. Now, these innovations that I'm showing you are expensive currently, but like many technological advances, they start out expensive because they're new and they're innovative and there's an upstart cost. And over time, as we adopt them, they become cheaper and they disseminate and they become wider. A third area of products and services is apps. So we, as a research team at my lab, reviewed the apps currently on the market, and we found that they formed kind of three broad categories. The first is, how do you increase organizational and productivity in the home? The second is, how do you train others in the task? And the third is, how do you allocate the work to children? How do you help teach them to be in charge of everything that's happening at home? Now, these are really valuable in terms of an app that helps people allocate, but they often miss the complexity of the domestic division of labor, the way in which families, life, and work operate. And so here's again where Maya steps in. Do you remember Maya? I told you about her at the beginning. She's a consultant with 2 kids who is trying to do it all and share it all. Well, she and her co-founders developed an app called Mellow. And the purpose of this app is twofold. First is they want to help families see the mental load and reallocate it between themselves. And the second is, how do we shift the gender norms that sit behind our allocation of labor? So Mellow is an app that helps do both. Another app is called Goldie, and this is founded by Verity Tuck, another woman founder. And her idea is she's building an app that functions like your Gmail. Now, do you have a Gmail? I'm sure many of you do. Or do you have some sort of email system where it tells you when you forget something? It tells you when you forgot to email something or pay a bill or remind you about something that was in your email thread that you may or may have not forgotten. And so what Goldie does is it does all of that AI reading, but for the work of home, making sure your children have birthday gifts, that the birthday that's coming up is remembered, that you don't forget that it's International Book Day. Did you remember those cupcakes? Did you get those cookies for the bake sale? Now, I just want to tell you, I know you're probably panicked right now. You didn't forget any of it. You got it. Welcome, relax, remove it from your mental load. But what if we could have AI systems that do that work for us? I mean, we know that Google can do that. It does that for us in our emails. What if it did that for us at home? And this is exactly what Goldie is trying to do. Use AI to help us remember the happenings of home life. Now, as all of these examples illustrate, we have this incredible group of women founders who are seeing these problems and bringing major technological solutions to solve them. But here's the problem. Like any major innovation, these solutions are time intensive, cash intensive, and skill intensive. These women founders need significant investments to make them go. And like many technological innovations, money to pivot when the market tells them that they don't quite have it right or they need to do something different. Now, this is exactly what happened to Maya. So when I called her to ask if I could feature her in this talk, she broke the bad news to me. Mello, the app that they had been building and testing and trialing and scaling for years, was on hold. The reason? Well, they needed more money to adapt the app to respond to the market testing, and the money had run out. So Mello is frozen, and we all have one fewer solution for the problems that plague us all each and every day. And herein lies the problem. Technology and family technology, or those that are being built to solve the problems at home, is underfunded. There isn't enough money going into these interventions and innovations, so many good ideas never make it into wider dissemination. And as a result, we're all worse off. So what do we need to do now? Well, we need to invest more in women and women's ideas. We need venture capital money freed up for women. Currently, only 3% of venture capital money is going to women, and most of these dollars are coming from men. So we need women to invest in other women. Now, I'm not the only one who recognizes the need. So look, Melinda French, formerly Melinda Gates, just committed $1 billion to support solutions that help women through her venture capital firm, Pivotal Ventures. It shows the scope of the problem and the level of commitment. But let me be clear. We need more than just Melinda's money. We need men's money too. And we need more women who can access this money to try to build out innovations to support women. We know that innovation is risky. Only 18% of startups are successful. So we need lots and lots and lots of women in this space to test, try, fail, and scale their ideas. We need to tell women that we want them in the space. We want their ideas, and they are resilient. That stepping in and taking a chance is a critical first step, and that if they get knocked down, they can get back up again. And we need women to know that we will also support their families, that they will be okay even if their ideas, even if their ventures, and even if their businesses don't succeed. We need women to see that they are building a legacy with each failed attempt to solve an intractable problem, putting more and more rope down for the next woman to climb up. And so none of this is a failure. The demands of home aren't going away. And they aren't just going to be solved by men doing more and women doing less. We need significant and impactful solutions. And we need more women taking more risks to create big, bold, innovative solutions that help us all. We need them to know that we are here for them, that we are here for this. So are robot vacuums going to save us from the drudgery? Well, maybe, right? It's possible, but only if we invest in these ideas, only if we invest in women. The robot vacuums aren't the only solution, but I am confident that women hold the range of solutions. And if we invest in those solutions, if we actually give women the money they need to build them out, to trial them, to test them, to scale them, we will live in better worlds. This is exactly the type of work that my lab is doing. If you're doing this work too, we would love to talk with you. Thank you.